Good evening. My name is Doris Santiago, and this is my speech on the phenomenon of pareidolia. And these are my students. The purpose of this speech is to provide a scientific and a psychological explanation on the phenomenon of pareidolia. Now, pareidolia is a word that's not commonly used in daily conversation, but in order to understand in order to get an understanding of the word, you have to understand where it comes from, where the origins of the word come from. Pareidolia's earliest origins come from the 18th century, specifically from 1828. It is a Greek word that when you break it down, para means faulty or wrong, and eidolon means image. Brought together, it basically means a faulty or wrong image. This is the origin of the word pareidolia. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, this is the definition of pareidolia. It's the tendency of humans to find images in randomless objects. So when we see the faces in clouds, or we can make out a teddy bear in the clouds, that is what pareidolia basically is. It's a form of, or a way that humans provide an explanation for the visual things that they see. This is a good depiction of pareidolia. When we look at this image, we can basically make out that this is a tree. We know that it's a tree because we see the grass that's around it, we see the greenery. We also see a trunk or a branch of the tree that may have fallen down. But what's interesting of this image is we see beyond just that it's a tree, we see that there is somewhat of an image of an owl. As you can see, you can make out the eyes. There's a beak there. You can see the ears of the owl. You can see almost a colorization detail in this image. This is pareidolia. This is the way that the human mind provides an explanation for the visual images that we see. So, how does the human mind make these distinguishments? Okay, in order to understand how the human mind distinguishes these images, we have to see where these images are actually brought together. So I'm not going to get into an extensive explanation on neuroscience or the different functionalities of the brain, but I'm only going to talk about the frontal cortex and the posterior visual cortex, because when they come together, they provide the answer to why pareidolia, humans actually experience pareidolia. The frontal cortex provides the expectation of the things that we see. And the visual cortex, which is in the dorsal part of the brain, which is back here, between the left and the right hemisphere, it provides the brain's visual perception. When you bring those two together in the equation, it actually provides an explanation. This is how the brain makes the determination on what it sees. Pareidolia is also used in psychology. Okay, I'm sure you've seen the Rorschach test, which is also known as the ink blot test. The ink blot test is used to determine a client's mental status. So when we look at this image, a normal human being, okay, with a sense of good judgment, could possibly distinguish this image as two angels side by side hugging each other, or they can distinguish this image as a butterfly. When a person sees beyond that and they explain the image to be a little bit more explicit or beyond that, there's a good possibility that there's more happening in the psychological or the psyche of that person that can possibly lead to the diagnosis of some type of psychotic or psychosis. Pareidolia is also used in art. When we look at this particular image, this man looks like he's kind of angry, right? But when you look at this image, there's a lot more to this piece, this imagery than just this man. There's actually a frog, there's two fish, there's the face of a lizard. It takes a lot of skill to make this, to create this masterful piece. We look at this other image, believe it or not, you can see 12 different faces in this image. So it goes beyond just the lines and the colors that the artist used to make this rendering. He used pareidolia, okay, to elaborate on a simple image of a horse or two horses with a cowboy. Here's another good image. When you look at this from a distance, you can see it looks like the face of a man, but actually there's more to this photograph than what we're seeing. There's the image of the young lady, there's a servant, and there's two houses in the distance with a sunset, okay? This is also another form of pareidolia. So, in conclusion, to establish how pareidolia plays a part in the human mind, we always look for explanations on the things that we see, because when we can explain things, they don't become unknown to us anymore, and we're able to understand things, and we don't fear those things that we're not able to understand, because we provide an explanation for these things. And these are my references. Thank you.